Let's talk about the Kenmore Zig Zag machine, model 1914, I think it is, or is it 1941? So we're just going to go over all the parts of this sewing machine. We're going to start from the side. So on the side here you have your hand wheel. Your hand wheel is what you can use to walk your needle over something. So say for example you are sewing some denim and it's a couple layers and you really don't want to break your needle, or you need to sew over some zippers, so you don't want to hit those zipper teeth. What you can do is take the hand wheel and slowly turn it towards you, and then that will also move your needle up and down. You'll also need to pull this out when you rewind your bobbin, but we will get to that later. Also on this side is the power switch. Up is on with the red dot, down is off. Down below here you have the power cord. So this is where you would attach the power cord. It's a two-prong cord where one cord goes into your outlet and the other cord is your pedal foot. Speaking of pedal foot, or foot pedal I should say, foot pedal, that is also a part of the machine. So your foot pedal, it goes underneath your table, goes underneath your chair, slightly in front of you. Make sure you have good posture, and you would use this, you press down on your foot pedal and it makes your machine operate. So this top here is your stitch selector. So right here, this is your modifier. So you can see that there is a rust or an orange dot here, and there's a white dot over here. The orange dot here represents the orange stitches over here, and then the white dot represents the white stitches. So orange correlates to the orange stitches, the white dot is the white stitches, and depending on which way this is will determine which stitch you have. So there's also another piece, so I always keep it on there. So even on the dial here you also have the stitches shown here. The same stitches that are up here, they are also down here in a circle. And so not only, so this gives you an indication, do you want the red, do you want the orange, or do you want the white? And then you would have to turn this knob to get to that stitch. So if you just have it on orange and orange, this is a straight stitch, and if you turn it, depending on whether this lever up here is on orange or white, will determine which stitch you are choosing. Also up here on the top are numbers from 1 all the way to 4. That is the number to determine your zigzag width. So if you have it all the way on the orange circle, that is just going to be a straight stitch. When you put it on 1, that's going to be a small zigzag, all the way up to 4, which is going to be your largest zigzag stitch. So I'll put that back on 1. The dial below it is your stitch length, and so it starts from 6, so that's 6 stitches per inch, all the way up to 12 stitches per inch. And then if you put it on this orange square, that is going to be a very, very close stitch. I don't even think you'll see it. It's almost close to 0. Like on 0, your needle just goes up and down. There's no progression forward or backwards. Speaking of progressing backwards, this is the reverse lever. So when you're stitching, that's one thing that can be a little bit complicated about this sewing machine, is that you don't have a button that you could just push. Take the lever and press it down, and that's how you would stitch in reverse or to do your back stitch. Now we're going up to the top of the machine. Here you have your bobbin winder, and this here is the bobbin stop. When you put a bobbin that needs to be wound in there, you would put your bobbin on and then you would push this in. And what happens is, as your bobbin winds up, once it's full, this lever will automatically pop out by itself and the machine will stop. In the back here you have 2 spool pins. This is where you will put your thread as you're sewing. You can put 2 spools of thread up here. If you're using a double needle, that would be a good reason for this. Now we're going across the top of the machine. So this knob right here controls the pressure of your presser foot. So some machines, they actually have a dial where you can say it's something thick or it's going to be something thin. So if you were going to be working with sheer fabric, you would probably want this all the way up, and if you were going to be working with corduroy or denim, you would probably want this all the way down or somewhere in between. So that's what this button does. This is a thread guide, so the thread comes off of your spool and it comes over and it goes around through here, and when I will thread the machine at the end of this video. So this is your thread guide. Now we're to the front of the machine, your thread tension knob. I've not really had to move mine. I usually just keep it right here between 3 and 6. That tends to be a good place to be, and what that does is it determines the tension, the amount of tension that is being pulled off of that top spool thread. So your thread will come down and go up through the thread guide, and then here, this little guy peeking up at the top right there, that is the take up lever. So as it goes up, the thread is going down, and all this is doing is it's keeping tension on your thread so that there's some tension, so that when the needle goes down into your fabric, that there's some tension on it, and so that's what creates the stitch. If you are ever sewing and you lift up your project and the back of it, the thread is all in a tangled mess, sometimes it could be because of the thread falls off of here. So on this machine, it's actually a little slit that will go in there. I'm not sure if I can get, I don't think I can get this. So right here, there is a little slit. So sometimes if you're going really fast, this lever can get going and the thread can come right out of it, and then your stitches mess up, and so you'll think you're doing everything fine, everything down here looks okay, but what happened is if this thread comes out of this lever, it's not, you're not going to have any tension on your thread, and it's going to sew. It'll look okay on the top, but underneath the project, it's a hot mess. So here's the screw. So stick your little screwdriver in there and turn it. The needle comes right out. The needles, all needles have a rounded edge and a flat edge, and the numbers, the colors on the thread determine the needle size, but that will be in another video. This machine only allows the needle to be inserted one way, and that's with the flat side to the back. When you put your needle in, make sure that after you put the needle in, you push all the way up to the top. If you do not, say for example, I put the needle here and I tighten it, it'll tighten for sure. But then whenever I go to sew something, the tip of my needle is going to hit the bottom of the machine and my needle is going to break, or I can ruin my machine. So make sure that you always push your needle as far, make sure this is nice and open, and push the needle as far as it will go. See this red right here? After I get the needle up in here, you don't even see that part of the shaft, this part up here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that. A double needle, then one thread will go down through here and go through this wire, and the other one will go into the wire on the other side, and then you would thread your needles. To change your presser feet, I'm going to turn the machine again. So here's the lever that you use to lift and lower your presser foot. This machine will sew in the up position. Computerized machines won't do that. If you have your presser foot up, the machine is not going to run. But one thing I like about this, especially if I have a lot, just something really thick underneath there, and I can't put the presser foot down, I know that I can leave this lever up, and the machine is going to sew. Also under here, this little lever right here is what is used to change your presser feet. And you drop it down, you give this a little lift, and there the presser foot comes off. So this is the needle plate. Right now the needle plate that is on here is the zigzag needle plate. So you can see that there's an oblong hole in the middle, so this allows the needle for a zigzag stitch to go back and forth. Your machine may come with another plate that may have a small circle or a small hole in the middle, and that is a needle plate for a straight stitch. So that would be good to use if you were sewing with knit, because sometimes with certain knits or very thin fabrics, when the needle goes down, the needle can actually push your fabric down underneath the plate, and then you have to take your needle out and pull your fabric out, and it can rip. I've had that happen. You can use the single stitch plate where there's just a simple hole in there, and the needle will go in and out, and your fabric will not get pulled down into your machine. And you do not want to lose your screws. So make sure you put them in a nice space where they're not going to roll away. I'm going to lift this up. I haven't cleaned this machine, so I don't know what's going to be underneath here. Oh yeah, look at all that. All that needs to be cleaned. So I usually clean my machines once a month. I know I should probably do it more than that, but once a month is what it is right now. You take the whole plate off, you push this little lever right here, and then it pops off. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this back. Don't be afraid to take screws out and see what's in your machine. That's how I learned to clean my machine and learn how to check to make sure everything is good, because you want to oil it. Just keep it nice and lubricated. Also, your sewing foot, your presser foot, the two that I use most, this is the zigzag presser foot. I use that one the most, but sometimes if I really need a good straight line and I know I'm not going to be doing any type of zigzag stitch, I will use the straight stitch presser foot. So that's what that one looks like. So here's the two: zigzag, straight stitch. Other machines, this part can be storage, but here this is just an opening. Yeah, this is, see all that dust in there? This is just an opening to get to your bobbin case. So this right here is the extension table. This lever under here, when it's down, it keeps this extension table in place. When you lift it up, there's a button that's way back here in this corner. You push that button, you'll be able to remove the extension table like so, and then here you have your free arm. So, and this is the easier way that you can access your bobbin. So I'm going to go ahead and push this back on. There's this rod back here that goes into this hole. You push it close, it snaps. Here's a button right here. You push this button and the top comes right off. Push it back on, it'll snap right in place. I'm going to show you how to wind your bobbin on this machine. I find it fairly simple. And surprisingly, all my bobbins have thread on it. So I'm just going to have to use one of these and go over it. So we're going to pretend that this is an empty bobbin. What you're going to do with your empty bobbin that doesn't have any thread on it, I'm going to set that there, and then here's the thread. So I'm going to put my brown thread on this bobbin here. So I'm going to pretend like this is my empty thread. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the bobbin winder right here. This is my empty bobbin, and I'm going to leave that out. So I'm going to take my thread, I'm going to put my thread on one of these back spools here. Now I need to take my thread. You're going to go around this little knob right here, but you're not going to go from the outside around and back. You're going to come across and go in front of this and around and back. Okay? You don't want to take your thread around the front and back. You do not want to go from your thread spool over to the dot, circle, and back. Take your thread in front of this circle. See, in front, right here, you're going to slide it right underneath. Not this way, this way. Then you're going to take it back. And shorten my thread here. Then you're going to take it back. Now you're going to take it back to your bobbin. Take it up around the front, around the back, and now you're going to bring it back to your bobbin. You're going to take your thread. You can take the bobbin off if you want. You're going to take the thread and stick it up through the top holes, not through the bottom, through the middle and up through the top. And then you're going to sit it on this bobbin winder, and you're going to hold about 2 inches in your hand like this. Then you're going to take this bobbin winder stop and you're going to push it forward. And then you're going to get the thread nice and tight, and then you will press on the presser foot. Make sure your machine is on. Press the presser foot. Once you get some thread, enough thread on there, you can cut your thread off of the bobbin because it's on there secure. And pressing your foot. Another thing that I forgot is that you need to disengage your needle. And so what you do is you pull this out. Push in to sew, disengage because you want to do your bobbin, pull this out. And then when you press, this drops. I am holding my hand on this thread spool because sometimes this is light and this will fly right off and fly across the room. There you go. So I ran out of thread, but if there was enough thread on here, the thread will push this stopper out and then this would stop spinning. So now the bobbin is threaded, and now we'll put it in the machine. So we're going to take this plate off. I will take this off so you can have a good view of what's going on down here. Pop this open, and the bobbin carrier goes in here, and I forgot that I took that out. So this is what the bobbin carrier looks like. So this would be in there like such. So you would grab this little lever right here that's on the bobbin carrier and pull it out. So here's your bobbin carrier, here's your bobbin. In this part, someone's going to get upset with me because I taught people to sew. I would tell them to take their thread and put it in a letter P. I learned that from somewhere. So you would put your thread in a letter P and put it in there, but I'm changing it now because as I'm watching different tailors, you actually want the letter J. So it's not a P, we're going with the letter J. So here's the J. If you think about the letter J, down and around, down and around. Here's the letter J. Here's your bobbin carrier. You're going to take this and slide it right in the carrier just like that. Take your thread up through the little slit that's right here and out the bigger hole, and there you have it. And if you can take your thread and whoop, knock it down like that, that is good. That's how you can check your tension. So I was a little frivolous in my shaking, so I will show that to you again. Letter J, bobbin carrier, plop it in there. I'm going to slide it in there, and there we go. So that's a good bobbin tension. To get the bobbin back in there, you have to open up this little lever here and hold it. This is how you hold it. And there's a little hole right here. There's a little prong right here. So here's the male part. Here's the female part. You're going to take the two, match them up, put it in there until it clicks. See it? So this is not in. Listen, clicking. Turn from this side, click. And when you can't turn it anymore, it's in there. There you go. So the bobbin and all its dust and glory is now in there. So now we're going to thread the machine. Here we have some thread. So we're going to go ahead and put it on our spool pin. You're going to take your thread. Oh, let me get my camera situated. The thread is coming across the machine. That little circle that we went around the front and back, now we're going to go back to front. So now it's going to come across. I'm going to hold my spool in my right hand because I need to pull this with my left hand. So hold it so it doesn't pull. So I have it nice and taut. So I'm going to go around the back of this round doohickey, the thread. It's a thread guide. And I'm going to take it and pop it in front of this thread guide here. Pop it back through this little hole. Then you're going to take it down and around your thread, your front thread tension spool, your thread tension knob. Whew, can I get my words right? So when you look down in here, there's a bunch of slits, but you want this large slit. You want this large slit that's going to be right in the middle, not behind this little lip here, not in front of this little U-shaped metal piece here, but right in the middle. Down through the big opening of the thread tension knob. You're going to see how that little wire is moving. You're going to lift it all the way up and then let it go. So this little wire should come back down and your thread should go underneath it like such. Then you're going to take the thread and put it through this little guide here. Pop it in here like that. Then you're going to come up to the top. So now we're back at the top, and you're going to take it around this take-up lever. So when I first got the machine, I really thought I had to take this and stick it through the hole. And then I was like, why is this coming off? Because I realized there's a slit there. So now this goes around that slit like such. Okay, so this is what your machine should look like. Down, up, and then coming back down. So now there's a little guide right here on the opposite end of this one. Here it is. Now you can see it better. This is the right side of the thread tension guide. This is the left side. So you go around your thread tension, up through the right side of the guide, through the take-up lever, down through the left side. Let's pop it right in there. Now we're going to go to the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see, but I lost my thread. Not sure if you can see, but right in here there's a little metal piece sticking out, and that is also part of the thread guide. If you're sewing with one needle, take this and pop it till it snaps in to the right side. If you're doing threading two needles, you will pop one thread into the left and then pop one thread into the right. But you'll see the little holes down in there. So I'm going to go through the left side here. And then earlier I talked about the little wire that was down here. I'm going to go around the wire and then thread. I'm going to drop my foot so I can reach my needle and thread the needle. The needle is threaded. The foot goes up. The thread goes to the back. And then using your hand wheel, turn the wheel towards you so that the needle goes down and comes back up. It's like a screwdriver, or I use a awl. Slide your awl through here, and there's your bobbin thread. So that is the full makeup of the Kenmore model sewing machine, zigzag stitch, how to thread the bobbin, how to load the bobbin, and how to thread the machine. This is Shawnee's. Thanks for watching. Have any questions, please leave it in the comment box. I respond to all my questions. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing. Loves.